Hello, everybody. Thanks for being here. I'm Claire Cooley. This is the Creativity Show. Today, we're going to show you some more stenciling art, like on this outfit and this outfit. And I'm going to do some stenciling in front of the camera to make a card out of this same stencil. This stencil is my latest one that is available for no extra cost to my Patreon members. It's the 11th flower. All of them are out on my Patreon to members for no additional cost. And every live stream, I'm going to do my best to put out a new stencil design. So every Monday and Thursday, there will be a new one that goes up. Today, it's this, I call it Leaning Iris, and it's on this outfit. And it's going to go on a card in front of you. And we're going to show you me painting this on this blouse yesterday. And we're going to also show you this mum that's already out, that I did the white mum on the jacket and the black mum on the blouse, which was a different creative expression than I'd done before. So I wanted to show you that. And I can only wear one outfit during each live stream virtual visit. So we'll show you that, but we'll show you that being done too. Can we show the iris being made? Yes. While he's getting that ready to go, we're also going to show you the Four Seasons paintings and the signs of the Four Season title cards that I am going to paint one in front of you today after the iris, and show you my font I designed. I hear the chime.
Michael B says, sorry I'm late.
Oh, you're right on time. I was a little late too. Thanks for being here, Michael. Always love to have you here. And so we're going to show you painting the iris on a card, the time lapse of this going on this blouse, so you can see the different uses for fun, fast, frugal stencils. And we're also going to show you my font and the title cards for my Four Season paintings. And while I'm doing the painting, we have started a new, we're going to do it every live stream, some of the audio recording of my memoir, Incandescence, Rising Above Darkness, that I wrote because people asked me to, and it's been very heartwarming, fulfilling that people tell me that hearing my stories, reading my stories has really helped them regain hope, heal, just find positive even in difficult situations. So that's why I wrote it, and I love facing my fear of speaking up, which every woman has in this sexist world. We often will be maligned or punished for speaking up, but why should we, first of all, not contribute our loving energy to the world? And when we have the most to say, the older we get, the more experience we have, the more we've been through, especially if we've remained loving, that's when we should speak up the most. So I'm not following the broken world rules like a woman my age shouldn't have long hair or wear short skirts or speak up. I'm doing what I'm comfortable with, what I'm happy with, and I encourage you to do the same. If it doesn't hurt anybody, go for it. If it makes you happy, share that with the world. The world needs more peace and happiness. So let's show the iris being made, unless you had another ding there. Yes, ready. Great. That's it finished. So we're going to show it being painted here. And you can see, obviously, that's a little speeded up, a little time lapse, but it really is incredibly quick. And these stencils, I've had some for longer than I've had Bodhi. So if they're are they Mylar or acetate, this plasticky paper material that they're cut out of, and you can cut them by hand with a razor blade or hot knife or even a scissors. But I've graduated to a Cricut cutter, which with 300 stencil designs, I decided that was not the best use of my time to design them and then also cut them out. So the Cricut cutter cuts them. And the SVGs are scalable vector graphics that with a computer you can download any size you want and make it into a stencil that can go on clothes, on paper, on walls. There's so many uses, and there's lots of videos out there on the Creativity Show of me using stencils in different ways. Yes, I hear the ding.
DB Catalyst on YouTube. Fantastic. How do you make stencils with such elegant fine lines? Your designs are so impressive.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. I appreciate that. It is my nature. My publisher friend calls me the distiller, and whether it's storytelling or art, even the way I play my bamboo flute, I like simplicity. I like minimalism. So I try to refine things into as few lines and as natural lines. And nature has been my main instructor for my art education, observing nature. And so all we have to do is look at nature to see all the inspiration and knowledge we need. So that's where I get my design ideas, and I try to not invent things, but to interpret things through my particular heart and my consciousness. But it's all inspired by nature, the master designer. So did we show the white and black mum? Let's show that. I thought this stencil that's already out, and by the way, anybody can, whether they're a Patreon member or not, the stencils can be purchased, any one of them, for $3 a piece on my Patreon page, which you can also join for free. And but members get all the stencils for no extra price, for no extra cost. So they're going to keep coming out. The 11 now would be, $33 or $5 a month membership to get all of them, and they're going to just keep coming out. So hopefully my art inspires you to create. And I love seeing what Joni B did with my rose stencil on her guitar case. And I'm going to be showing more of what people do with my, there it is. Good job, Bodhi, you're fast. So there's the red rose on the guitar case. So there's the black mum on the white shirt and the white mum on the black jacket, which I thought was a sweet experiment. I love doing art. It's peaceful, it's rewarding. It's a fun, fast, frugal way to create out of used clothing store items, which is all of my clothes are either been given to me or purchased at an enormously discounted price. I've been an artist my whole life, so in order to afford to do art, I've learned to be very frugal. And even if we have lots of discretionary income, you know, we can help others with it if we save money on our wardrobe, and we can have the healing and life enhancing experience of expressing our own creativity. So now let's go to doing this iris live in front of the camera. And when we do that, we're gonna, how about, can you come out and first, well, no, I guess we'll start the iris. Here he is. And let's show the Four Season paintings that I'm going to be making titles of the Four Seasons, winter, spring, summer, and autumn, in front of you out of the font I designed. So I could use my own font, once again inspired by nature. I like Bodhi's take on it. He said my letters look like they were made out of herring bones, which is very much in character for me, that they're, let's turn that around for the camera.
Very cool.
Here's, so what I did with these and is trace them onto the different, and I'm going to paint one. I'll show you that in a little bit. So let's show the iris being made while we're doing the pre-recorded of me reading my audiobook. So we're going to start with, it is my memoir, so it's the truth. It's my truth. And I decided as a very little girl that I wanted to be honest, kind, and awake. And I didn't have any idea that was a radical idea. But the longer I live, the more I realize that there's a lot of reasons that people aren't honest, kind, and awake. But I still think it's the world I'd like to live in. So the only thing I can do about that is, the only thing any of us can do is be the way we want the world to be. And then we've helped create that. So, all right, so let's go for, I'm just going to do a gold iris. And
Story 11, Foot in the Fire. Solitary moments in serene nature are the most vivid memories of my childhood. I remember things like glistening snail trails of silver on smooth, dark bark, the gentle quivering of iridescent butterfly wings, glowing salamander bellies, rainbows undulating on dewdrops, and light dancing across the water. Finding natural materials that inspired me was my daily quest. With them, I could create anything I could imagine, and I could imagine so much when there were no distractions by loud and large people. I built bridges out of sticks, tiny pine needle baskets, seashell mobiles, stone labyrinths, feather masks, and moss clothing. My father's all-pervasive need to get away from himself kept us moving from place to place, but I could always find somewhere to explore and be happy until we stopped in Orange County. The strain of pulling a 40-foot trailer home from San Diego to Salina, Kansas, then to Spokane, Washington, then back to California was too much for the transmission of the Toyota Land Cruiser. As we were passing through Orange County on the way to Mexico, with one enormous snap, everything changed. My father put our trailer in a park 1 block from Disneyland. Nothing was real or beautiful to me there. Even the Matterhorn mountain was artificial. I could not find anything pure. Even the orange groves were planted in straight, strange rows. Being surrounded by stuff used only to entertain people looking for distractions from themselves made me sad. There was nothing there I felt any connection to. So much surrounded us, and I felt disconnected from it. All the electric lights and fireworks did not illuminate the darkness in my heart. Being constantly surrounded by other people did not alleviate my feeling of loneliness. I could not find nature to retreat into, and I began to feel despair. The trailer park manager evicted us, saying we were an eyesore as my father's used sports car collection grew. We're the only ones with such things in this manicured land. He bought us a house where all the houses looked the same, except for their paint colors with strange names. Nothing was wild. Even the plants and lawns were tame. We moved in before the utilities had been turned on in the house, and it was unusually cold for Southern California. For heat, my father lit charcoal in a hibachi, and he put it in the room where he and my asthmatic mother slept with all the windows closed. I listened to every tiny sound long after everyone had fallen asleep, sensing something was terribly wrong. Not knowing what it was, I stared into the darkness, looking for a sign of the danger I felt gathering around us. I lay perfectly still as my father got up and took his sleeping bag into the living room. A very clear and insistent voice within me said, "Do not go to sleep." The desire to sleep kept increasing, and the voice kept getting stronger. "Do not go to sleep." I tried to focus on the doorway 2 feet in front of me, but when I realized I could not, terror came over me, and the voice said, "Stand up." I could not feel my legs. I threw the blanket off and stared at my feet. I felt no connection to my own body. I tried to get my feet to move. I had the thought, I am dying. We are all dying. It was like an electric shock, and I stood up and vomited, which cleared my head. I somehow knew my mother was in a life-threatening situation. I struggled to stand up and feel my way down the hall to the room where she was sleeping. I did not know whether I was actually speaking or imagining I was speaking. "Wake up, we have to get out." She did not move. Looking down, I saw my right foot was in the red-hot coals in the hibachi, and it shocked me into speaking clearly. My foot is in the fire, and I can't feel it. She looked over and leaped out of her bed, shaking her head like a mother bear waking from hibernation. She picked me up and out of the coals. Moving in slow motion, we helped each other out of the room, groping and stumbling. We woke up my big sister, who ran around the house in a frenzy, throwing everything she could pick up out into the backyard. I could not wake up or pick up my younger sister, so I dragged her down the hall into the living room. Instinctively, I opened every door and window in the house. My mother told my older sister to call 911. My younger sister still did not wake up, so I hauled her out onto the front lawn. My father sat up and started cursing under his breath. I went and tried to wake my brother. My father came in and started kicking him in a rage. I got between them, and my father left the room yelling obscenities. My brother then crawled out to the lawn with the rest of us. When the ambulance arrived, my younger sister was still unconscious, so they took her to the hospital, where they said she had carbon monoxide poisoning from the charcoal. Many people said my father was a genius. He had several college degrees and had done technical writing for engineers, so how could he have not known about the poisonous gas replacing the oxygen in the house as the coals in the hibachi burned? Why did he take his sleeping bag to the living room and close my mother's bedroom door? There is so much in life we will never know. We all slept on the front lawn that night. Every time I moved my head, I vomited and felt a little better until I could finally sleep. At first light, my mother and I woke simultaneously. Looking at each other, I remembered my right foot in the red-hot coals. I took it out of my sleeping bag, and we both saw ash still on it, but no burns. As usual, we smiled at each other when no one else was looking, knowing our bond could upset them. With a small nod, we silently acknowledged this and the mysterious benevolent forces we felt watching over us. I wondered if there were no burns because I imagined the coals were still red hot, or because I could not register pain when I put my foot in the fire. I wondered if there were no burns because I only imagined the coals were still red hot, or because something mysterious was watching over me when I put my foot in the fire.
All right, I paused and unmuted your microphone.
All right, I heard the Tibetan bell.
That was fantastic. I think I might have already read this one. How do you make such elegant, fine lines? Your designs are so impressive.
I thank you so much. I appreciate that, and I try to relax. And because I started with Sumi brushstroke, which I have on the table here, which I'll show you in a second, which teaches the exercise I did over and over and threw every painting away because it was about the learning to relax and breathe, move through the instrument, whether it's a pen or brush or pencil. Here's the Suzuri stone and the Sumi ink that is mixed like this. It's very meditative. And the lesson I did for months was 5 blades of grass, and each blade had its own feeling. And it taught me when I missed birds later, my first winter in Duluth, when most of them, went somewhere else where it was warmer, I went to the library and got bird books, and I started with pen and ink to draw lines that looked like they could fly. And I love minimalism, so I tried to draw as few lines as possible to represent the creature. So it was a practice in reducing a bird to as few lines as could communicate that bird's essence. And then I did plants, and then I did other animals, all with pen and ink. So I called them essence drawings. And now, all these years later, I'm doing the 4 seasons that I call the essence of everything, because they will have an element, a primary color, a metal, a botanical, and the kimonos that will be worn during the performance that will weave the costume, the set, spoken word, audio, art, and then choreography based on turning the spoken word into, I call it audio art, so I don't have any expectations that I'm a musician. I love to play the bamboo flute, but it's about meditating. For me, it's about watching my breath. And that brings me back to the question you asked, the breathing through the stroke. When I cut mats, I always exhale during the cut. It gives me a peaceful control, I guess is how I would describe it. Presence. So, are we ready for the next story? Yes. I heard the chime.
You did. Michael B. said, Bodhi, this should be made into a film. This is a wonderful reading from your mom.
Wow, thank you, Michael V. That's very, very sweet. Bodhi, why don't you talk a little bit about what you did with your adaptation? Go ahead.
Absolutely. I adapted her memoir into a screenplay for an episodic series. I also adapted it into a feature film screenplay. And currently, her book, the pilot episode screenplay that I adapted it into, and the season 1 TV show pitch that I adapted it into are all up for awards at the world's largest independent television festival called Catalyst Content Festival. They're also known as Catalyst Story Institute, and they are headquartered here in Duluth. That's an awesome plus. And yeah, so we're definitely working on it, and it's with the help of amazing community members and patrons like yourself that we're able to publish her memoir and develop it into cinema. And I love that you think it's a good candidate. Let me read his next comment. Michael B. on YouTube said, I feel so connected to your mom reading her book. As horrifying the event she experienced, she reads through it as a matter of fact of living. Yeah.
What a profound compliment that is. I could, tears are welling up in my eyes. That's a beautiful and kind thing to say. And that's, if I were to distill how and why I do that, it is, I deserve to be happy, and I deserve to feel loved and appreciated, and I love myself. And so the difficult, painful things that I've been through, I choose to forgive and to let go of the pain and just keep what it taught me and hopefully help others with it, which is why I wrote my stories when people asked me to, saying, hearing them help them, and why I've faced I am by nature, I call myself the friendly recluse. By nature, I have a lot of solitude in my life. That is very natural for me, an artist, quiet, contemplative. So it takes a lot of courage for anybody to share their truth, their vulnerability. But the reward of helping others is so much greater than my tiny little fear about being exposed. And so I'm strengthened by knowing I can help others and hearing things like that. And I feel connected to you too, hearing your response. So it's mutual, and that's why I call these virtual visits. So thank you, Michael. I really appreciate that.
MMM on YouTube. What a magical story. epic and terrifying, yet so beautiful.
Well, thank you. Thank you very, very much. And if we get to live long enough, all of us have gone through scary things, difficult things, painful things. It's part of being a human being. Even being born is painful. So I like to look at it like it's not what happens to us, it's what we do with it that makes us who we are. And I chose not to let the anguish of others become mine, and to love them, the dangerous ones, from a distance, the ones I'm not certain about at arm's length, and those that I have earned my trust by being kind up close. But I choose not to hate, no matter how hateful some of the things people do can be. I don't want that in my heart. I deserve to have a heart full of love, not hate. So that's even my Bodhi's dad, my ex, said my only addiction was turning everything to the good. And I said, it's not an addiction, it's a life choice. Find the good in especially the hard stuff. Means we don't have to regret it. And especially if we help others with it. And everybody has stuff that you've learned through hard stuff. Sometimes it's the most important lessons. So help others with it. And this sexist world that, the Prime Minister of Australia said, globally, all the studies, if a woman speaks with confidence, she's, loathed. That was not the word she used. Reviled, I think. Anyway, not appreciated, where men get to speak with confidence, but I refuse to participate in the broken world rules. Am I hearing a chime?
There's music in the background.
Okay.
But I'll take this quick moment to read one of your most recent reviews on your book on Amazon. And by the way, if you've gotten her book or you're getting it now, please check out her Amazon authors page, follow that, and also leave a review. It really helps us. 5 stars, jaw-dropping stories, raw and profound. This book is a bright, cathartic antidote to a world often obsessed with fear, determinism, and jealousy. Claire reveals the personal power and healing within us that is fueled by forgiveness and optimism, by contemplation and unshakable creativity. Highly recommend.
Wow, I got chills. Who wrote that?
Joni Ballou.
Nice. Thank you, Joni. Beautiful. Beautiful. It's our choice. We have control over so very little in life. Our attitude is one of the few things we have control over. So it's not always easy. And some things I'm still healing and finding the good in. It's an ongoing process, but I am determined to do so, no matter how painful. And when you speak up, anyone, but especially women, and especially mature women, and especially mature women who are, not born into wealth, highly educated, have any of those, as my attorney said, over a 14-year divorce from an attorney. My attorney said, "You're everything the system doesn't respect." And I said, "What am I?" And she said, "A woman, you don't have the money, you're an artist, and you're spiritual." And I said, "Well, it's a good thing I respect myself. And I don't believe that those are disrespectful things." And so it didn't break me to go through that or to hear that. Yes, I heard the Tibetan bell.
Yes. Mary Lou Williams, put a heart on your video on Facebook.
Nice, Mary Lou. Thank you so much. It's nice to connect with you, and I do love these virtual visits in this world where, driving and flying and putting carbon into the atmosphere is something we all need to think about and reduce if and when we can. I'm loving this virtual visit, a way of connecting with people and feeling connected to you. So without adding carbon to the atmosphere, there is a minimal expenditure of energy for the internet, but considering all the other ways to connect, it's tiptoeing our carbon footprint. So I'm loving this social experiment of connecting in this kind to the planet way. All right. What is the time? Is it the right? Sure, one more story.
Story number 12. Why Pygmies Can't Go to Heaven. On one very unusual day, I became curious where the kids in the neighborhood were going, so I joined the group shuffling down the sidewalk. No one noticed because they were all talking at the same time. Following quietly behind, I flowed along as they went into a trailer next to an elementary school. I sat in a seat behind the tallest boy. Inside, the trailer had fake wood wallpaper, fluorescent lights, lots of posters of Jesus, and one of the Virgin Mother Mary. The woman at the front of the trailer wore nylons that came just below her knees and a dark blue dress that landed just above her knees. She looked out the window as she said, "The Bible is the Word of God." A boy with a grown man's jacket said enthusiastically, "God wrote the Bible?" She looked annoyed. No, God didn't write it. I wanted to ask how she knew it was God's words if God did not write it, but did not dare. She continued responding to the boy saying, "Men wrote down God's words." She held up the book and fanned the pages toward us. I wondered why the paper was so thin and the writing so small. I had lots of questions. How did they hear God's words? How did they know it was God? Did they see God when they heard his words? What did God look like? How did they know God was a man? How did they know it was really God, not just some other man? Did any women hear God's words? I did not ask any of my many questions, even though what she read of God's words did not make sense to me. I thought God must be smart and able to speak in a way we can understand. Maybe it was because the men who wrote the Bible didn't have very good handwriting. Maybe girls should have written the Bible because they usually have better handwriting. I didn't say anything because she was not nice to anyone who did say something. Nobody was listening, but there was a girl with braids who pretended she cared whenever the instructor looked in her direction. The others stared at their shoes, twirled their hair, bounced in their seats, doodled, and tapped their pencils on the desks. I wanted God's words to make sense to me, so I kept listening. I was the only one who seemed to be listening until she mentioned hell, which got everyone's attention. She got very lively as she said, "Hell is for sinners. It's burning hot, and you have to work all the time, digging and breaking rocks and carrying heavy things. There's no food or water in hell. Sinners never get to rest, and they have to stay in hell forever." She went on and on about the horrors of hell, which she seemed to know a lot about. She continued, "Heaven is for the good people who have been baptized in the name of the Lord." She didn't describe heaven, so the girl with braids asked, "What's heaven like?" The teacher did not like any questions and snapped as she replied, "Heaven is paradise, but you only get to go there if you don't commit any mortal sins and you're baptized in the name of Jesus. That made me think about the pygmies deep in the jungle who never heard of Jesus. I loved hearing stories about them and remembered hearing how they settled family disputes. The elders of the tribes who watched over the children while the men and women were out looking for food would dismantle the hut of the quarreling couple. When the couple would return, they would have to cooperate to get their hut up before nightfall. I thought, what a lovely idea. It made sense to me. The pygmies seemed so gentle and kind to one another. It upset me to think they could not go to paradise just because they lived in the jungle and never heard of Jesus. So I mustered up the courage to raise my hand and ask, what if a pygmy was good to everybody and never sinned? Shouldn't they go to heaven? They would go to purgatory, she barked. What's purgatory? I asked. It's not heaven, it's not hell, it's someplace in between. I was very confused and said, but if the pygmies had always been nice, then they should go to heaven. I already said they go to purgatory. Heaven is for the baptized, she snapped. I burst out, but that is not fair, and God must be fair. The teacher swung around, pointed to the door, and yelled, you have no right to say what is fair or what God should do. Leave. While walking home, I thought maybe the writing in the book was too small for her to read. Maybe she just pretended to understand the Bible. Perhaps the men who wrote it did not really hear the words of God. It was clear to me, whomever God was, she or he or they must be kind. I felt certain the Word of God was there for everybody to hear inside. I thought the teacher had not heard the voice of God inside herself. She was confused, thinking God was somewhere else. I felt sorry for her. I said a little blessing for her to be able to hear the truth inside herself someday, and I did not feel sad anymore. Story.
You are unmuted.
All right. So, yeah, I've taken quite a break from my writing since I wrote the book and did the audio recording. So it's like hearing it fresh for me. And it's something I suggest we all do with anything that we create, is take a break from it, which has always been my practice, work on something else and come back to it with more ability to be objective about it with the greater distance. So it really takes me back because I'm doing my absolute best not to embellish any of the stories, just tell them. And what we have to give the world, what every one of you has, is your truth and your experience and your perspective. No one else has that. And it is a gift to the world when you give it in any way, whether it's storytelling, painting, music, writing, anything that is you communicating your perspective makes the perspective in the world the greater. Fear makes us myopic and love expands us. So the more fear, the less we see, the less we can take in. So the more we try our best to return to, if we fall out of love into fear for a while, but return to love and share our love, what we love, who we love, why we love, the broader our scope. And the more diversity there is in the world, the more of us, the more of you who share your perspective, your experiences, what you see and feel, the richer the world becomes. And that's why I'm doing this, and I hope it inspires you. I always knew that being an art therapist, I call myself a creativity coach, is how I could best help people, because our imagination is a superpower and it can heal us, enhance our lives, and make the world a richer place. And the more of us that are in touch with our imaginations and the courage to express our creativity and the confidence to share it with others, the more we can address the issues in the world, and there are plenty of them. So let's all step up and share what only we can. Share yourself. So there you go. And you saw Summer. Let's end with that. And I'm going to do winter will be silver, spring will be bronze, summer's gold, and autumn is copper. So it's been fun to make my own font, and now make these titles for the 4 seasons, and I'm going to be doing other things with them. So thanks for being here, and I really appreciate your presence and hearing me and sharing it and liking and subscribing and all that stuff that helps us keep going. And tell a friend if there's someone you think could appreciate this calming creativity I'm trying to share with you, that inspire you to reach into yourself and share what only you can.
All righty, I can end it from here. So.
Okay, well, thanks for being here, and meanwhile, stay creative.